Welcome back to the Sober Sofa, where we discuss all topics related to addiction and sobriety. My name is Shanti Patty Owen. I am your host for this channel. I've been working as a sober companion and a sober coach since 2016. Now, before I got into this career, I was a model and an actress back in the 80s. I had quite a long period of being a stay-at-home mom and deep into my spiritual practices, and I came out of that and became a legal secretary.
The answer was drinking, drugging, taking pills, shopping, everything in excess to ease the pain and the hole that I had in my heart.
I am a sex addict, love addict, an alcoholic, a compulsive gambler, and a debtor. Okay, we're on. Everybody, this is the special guest that I've been telling you about. This is Jeff. He is a very long time friend of mine. We go way back. And I asked him to be here because although I have several addictions and addiction issues, relapse is not my specialty and it is his. So I have asked him to come to talk about it. But before, if it's okay, if before you talk about relapse, maybe you could just tell people a little bit about how we met, how we know each other.
Really?
You can say anything.
Okay, fine. We met at it was back in the 80s, I believe, at an About Sex seminar.
Yeah, it was around 82, 83, yes.
Right. And I had no idea who you were. We, it was part of the Est at the time, Warner Earhart, which is now, I think, called the, what's it called?
Yeah, it morphed into the Forum, yes.
Forum, exactly.
Yeah.
So we meet at this seminar about sex, and they went row 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Turn your chairs around and share with the person facing you one of your hottest sex fantasies. And I see this little red hair, freckled face, beautiful girl sitting across from me, and she starts sharing. And I went, oh my God, I need to be her friend. And then I told my story, and I believe you said, oh my God, let's go for coffee.
Yes.
And that is exactly how we met.
Yeah, two perverts.
Two total perverts telling dirty sex stories. Little did we know, 100 years later,
That would be a problem.
well, yes, and figure out a solution.
Right. And then you became my roommate because I went to La La Land to become an actress after I left modeling. And you went, ooh, I'd love to sublet your apartment. I was like, really? Sure. And then you took over my apartment for about a year or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I was so disillusioned by acting in Los Angeles and the casting couch. And I was like, listen, I'm going to move back in. And you went, oh, because you were quite happy there.
I'm not going anywhere.
I said, well, you can stay there. We could be roommates. And I just remember the look on your face. And you went, because I'd only come for about a week just to visit friends. And I think I had a small modeling job. And so it was in person. And I was happier in those 5 days. I was happier in New York than I had been in Los Angeles for the whole year. And I was like, no, I'm staying. And you were like, you're staying. But it was good. We were good together, right?
We had so much fun.
It's so much fun.
So much fun.
So much fun.
I think there's almost a book in it.
Well, I don't know if you know that I've gone back. I'm writing the second volume of my memoir, which is about my modeling career and my acting career. I will change your name, whatever you like, but you're definitely in there.
We went to Paris together. We combed the streets of New York City together.
We combed the back seats of New York City together.
The back seat of my car together.
Oh
how about that French club in Paris?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. I
Okay.
was mad, I was mad. I really thought I looked like a boy.
You couldn't get into a male, sex club. I don't care how, how much you taped and
I taped my
covered.
dress down, I had a little cap on, my hair was much shorter, I was so sure I was gonna get in.
Really, I know.
But we were a great team because you liked guys and I liked guys, so it was perfect, so we were always
Perfect.
scouting together.
Yeah, always out on the hunt.
Always out on the hunt, yeah. And then I don't remember when you moved out. Oh, when you bought the place you're in now, I
Yeah,
think. You
yeah,
bought your own place and moved out.
right.
Yes. I think you got tired of Maggie's hair sucking her off. And
Exactly.
Maggie's hair, my dog, she had, you know,
Shed like a crazy person, crazy dog.
and
Love Maggie.
instead of waiting till the hair fell off, you would just like take a vacuum and suck
I'd
her off.
vacuum her. Yeah, I'd suck her off.
Oh my God, oh my God. And then you got your own place. We still saw each other. And then I went, after I left acting, I went on this really deep spiritual journey. I spent a lot of time in India. Then I married a guy who you knew, and I moved to the state. And that lasted for a good 9 years.
Hmm.
And then I finally moved back to New York, went back to college. We saw each other a little bit. But when my sex addiction really amped up, I lost track of you in the new millennium because I don't know. I think I just didn't wanna I don't think it was conscious, but I don't think I wanted to taint you or whatever it was. And then when I was working those programs for sex addiction during my amends, I had an amends to make that I was sorry that I ghosted you. And I called 4 or 5 times, left messages, you never called me back. And I was like, well, what do you expect? You ghosted him with no explanation. And then you finally called me back. Do you remember what happened?
Yeah, I said I was in rehab,
You said, I
ex
said,
and
you're in
drug addiction,
And I said, "You're in rehab for what?" And you said, "For everything."
everything. E, all of the above.
What year was that? Was like 2015,
2013, 2014.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we've been tight ever since
yeah,
because, we have the history of our, addictions that we could share, but we also have our sobriety. But
right.
here's where we diverged a little, and this is where I want you to talk because, I've had a couple of like minor slips, but you've had some pretty big relapses.
Really.
And you could just talk to people about, what that's about, if you
Sure.
know what that's about.
Sure, sure. Well, first, let me preface this by saying a lot of my acting out sexually, drugs, alcohol, all of the above, spending, um,
That one
has
too.
a lot to do with trauma. At the age of 4, my father took sick. He died when I was 8. I had an older brother who despised me, Shelley, and I had an older sister who adored me. My sister moved away. I was stuck with a brother who was awful. I had no father, I had no mother. And that's how I came to say that my second language was victimese. I was a victim. I think the most traumatic part of, forget, bad enough being a little boy, without a mother, without a father, sister abandons him, brother who tortures him.
Oof.
Um, but in 1997, my mother dies. And in 2000, my brother dies, who I happen to have made amends with before he passed. And in
Oh.
2003, my sister dies. So in 5 years, I buried the rest of my immediate family.
So
And
when you said earlier you lost your mother, you meant, was that because she was working so much?
she was working. Right.
Because
Oh,
you're okay.
sorry.
Because
Yes. Yes.
no, I was trying to think, okay, because
No,
once
no,
your
no.
dad died, she had to go to work and she worked several jobs. Okay.
Yes. So
Now,
she had to go to work. So I didn't have a full-time mother, but in those 5 years, I buried my immediate family. And at the age of, I think, late 40s, 47, 48, something like that, I was an orphan. And how do I deal with it? I deal with it by acting out. There was, you know, in hindsight, I mean, a shrink, a program for grieving, all of that's available. But, back then, 25 years ago, 20 plus years ago, the answer was drinking, drugging, taking pills, snorting, uh, shopping, everything in excess to ease the pain and the hole that I had in my heart.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how um, that's pretty much my backstory. I would use I'll never forget. I would use over a Ziploc bag. My husband used a gallon size when he should have used a sandwich size, and I just would pop a pill and I would yell and scream. So um, there was
It's
just
it's amazing that you guys stayed together through all this. How long so you've been married for like 5 or 6 years?
we just celebrated 6 years, but we're together 29.
Right. That he
Yeah.
stayed with you during this crazy time of,
So,
sobriety, relapse, sobriety, relapse.
yeah. I mean, I have been in two inpatients, four IOPs, which is intensive outpatients. I've had three shrinks. I've had four sponsors, and he just stuck around. And I must give a shout out to Al-Anon. Oh, I'm not supposed to be announcing anything, but that pretty much saved because instead of making me wrong, he worked on himself and figured out kept his side of the street clean. So
Well, what do
um,
you think it was that finally stopped this relapse train? Was there anything in
yes,
particular?
yeah, I totally remember. First of all, I changed sponsors, and you knew some of my sponsors, and
Yes.
some of them, oh, I could, well, I could chew them up and spit them out. And there was this young guy sharing in the rooms, and I loved his sobriety, and I uh, got his phone number, and I called him up that night, and he went, okay, well, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to a meeting a day. You are going to reach out to three fellows who are in need, where you're going to meet once a week. And he gave me this list of things, and I hung up the phone, and I said to my husband, I mean, what the fuck does this kid think I mean, he's 24 years old. I have shoes that are older than this kid. And here he is giving me a list, where was the romance? Not physical romance, but, over a cup of coffee, He was
Listen, knowing you like I do, I can only if I was a fly on the wall, I would have laughed my ass off. It's like, who does he think he is?
like, the fuck does he think he is? Am I allowed to curse?
You can
Oh.
curse all you want, honey.
And then, so I got somebody who I couldn't bullshit, which was key. But I think what really got me to stay sober was I went to see my shrink, uh, who I adore. He was, by the way, recommended to me by two people from Hazleton. Each one separately said, "Oh, I have the perfect shrink for you."
This is the one that I met?
Yes,
Oh
yeah.
my God, I love him.
Is he the best?
Oh,
And
love him.
the first day I walked in, he said to me, the opposite of addiction is connection. And I was like, ooh, that's like, that's really heavy. And the second thing is, he said to me, how many relapses have you had? And I said, five. And he said, and they've been really bad. And I said, yes. And I won't go into the gory details, but
You called me during some of them.
yes. And so, I mean, I was robbed. Forget it, forget it. It was just, and he said, "What are the three worst things that could happen if you are to relapse again? And I said, well, one, I could lose my dog. Number two, I could lose my husband, in that order. And three, I said, I could either kill someone or I could die. And he said, does one of those three things have to happen for you to stay sober and remain sober? Because that's probably one of those three things is going to be your next. And that was pretty much it.
I think your husband was on the way out the door, actually.
Oh, we had separated. We were
Yeah.
living apart. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was just so much he could take. I'm shocked he stayed.
Well, he stayed, but he left. You know,
Yes. Yes.
I think that had a big effect on you. I think you thought he would just take anything because he had been historically, right? But
Correct. I
he
mean,
started working his own program and stopped putting up with your BS. I think that was a shocker to you.
oh God, I came home and his clothes were out of the closet and his books were out of the bookshelf. And
Yeah.
I just sat and cried.
Mm.
Yeah, that was tough.
I have found for myself, even though I haven't had that relapse experience, I find that when I start amping up or I'm dying for a drink or I'm dying to go have sex with somebody I shouldn't be or whatever it is, that underneath that angst is I just feel this grief, and I don't want to feel grief. Do you remember us in the 80s when it came to grief? Do you
Oh,
do you remember what we used to do? We used to laugh.
and we laughed. We laughed.
It was a horrible reaction.
Awful.
I think
Awful.
underneath all that sorrow is because we had a vat of grief
Oh my God.
that we
So
did
much
not
grief.
deal with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, talk about somebody close to you dying, and your immediate response is
yeah. That was,
not
if
good.
that wasn't a wake-up call enough, yeah, I don't laugh anymore when somebody
No,
dies.
no, me
But
neither.
we used to both do it. I thought, oh my God, you're the only other human on this planet that
No,
does
which
that.
is why I love you so much.
I know, because we're so messed up.
I know you're sick. You're as sick as I am.
You're only as sick as your secrets, and I don't think
Oh,
we have any secrets anymore.
not between the two of us. No.
Oh, so let me ask you something. If because people can reach me, through my email and they might have questions for you and I'll forward them on to you, but is there any advice that you would have if somebody has lost hope because they're a chronic relapser? Like what would you suggest that they do?
My first sponsor used to say, play it forward. Remember the last time that you had had a relapse and caused you to come back. Remember how awful it was. That's one thing. Number two is, I think, to take a look at your life today when you're sober and look at your life when you weren't sober and just compare and contrast. I mean, today my life is so full, really so full.
And what about meetings? I know you and I both go to quite a few meetings. I mean, people have asked me many times, can't you get sober without going to meetings? And I was like, if you can, great. But the people I know that have gotten sober without meetings are not often emotionally sober. I mean,
I have
yeah,
I have to tell you, our mutual friend Dave O.
yeah,
See, I just outed him, who was like my best friend, and we used to sit together all the time at a
and
meeting.
he's awesome.
Would say, "You can't get clean on yesterday's shower. You need a meeting every single day." And I go to a meeting every single day. And the second thing that he said to me is, if you hang out at a barber shop, you're bound to get a haircut. And so that's sort of your people, places, and things. If you're
People, places,
hanging
and
out,
things.
right, right. I mean, if I would say when I had bouts of sobriety a year, and I would say, okay, I could, I would tell whoever it is, I am sober, and all of a sudden, you're hanging out, and all of a sudden the drugs come out, I'm right back. And worse than the last time.
Yeah, it's progressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Wow. Well, I mean, I didn't know I had a sex addiction, but it was progressive whether I knew or not. I mean, it was just, I needed more and more crazy situations to get me high.
Oh, yeah.
And, relapse or not, it's like all addiction is progressive. It's progressive.
My first rehab specialized in uh, drugs and alcohol and sex addiction. So the both worked hand in hand. It was
Yeah.
it was two different addictions that you could deal with under one roof.
Yeah, I never considered myself an alcoholic, but funny enough, when I experimented by taking alcohol off the table, I wasn't acting out sexually. I was like, I wonder if maybe I'm an alcoholic. God, 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 God. Well, so thank you for this.
I have to tell you something really funny.
Oh,
So one of the women that I know teaches a course for graduate students who are social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists, and every week she does another, and for the 2 weeks prior to speaking to me, it was about, um, you know, going to a 12-step meeting. And she had 15 people in her class go to a 12-step meeting and write about it. And the following week, her topic was relapse.
ah,
And she said,
you're getting
Jeffrey,
known for this.
she goes, Jeffrey, I'm telling you, when you open up the dictionary and you look under relapse, you see my face. And it was amazing because I got to tell my story. And then I had these really intelligent people asking me some really great questions. There was, feedback, which you don't get in the rooms.
Right, right, right. Well,
And
can
there were,
you give me an example of maybe a couple of the questions that they asked you?
oh God, you're asking me to remember 3 weeks ago. I remember them saying, like, what were you thinking when you would pick up? And I would say, well, A, I wasn't thinking. B, I thought that I was smarter. I had a year under my belt. I had 2 years under my belt. You know, what is one sip, one puff, one sniff, one acting out sexually, one shopping binge? What is that going to do? And you know what it does? It causes a 6-month run that is awful. And there was a guy who had just buried his brother who died of a fentanyl overdose. And he he thanked me, because he he was just so angry at his brother for leaving him. And I told him it's a disease that we have.
Yeah.
That, I mean, if there was a magic pill, well, maybe that's not the right analogy, but but if there was something that you could take that would prevent you from relapsing, we would take it, you know? And I always share my story because I've been to too many memorials. I've buried too many people, and it just breaks my heart. I just looked at my calendar, and there was this wonderful guy who used to sit in front of me in the rooms, and he called me Ellen. I called him Rosie, because we lesbians. Oops. And so his nickname was Rosie, and I remember saying to him, "You're gonna die," which you once said to me. I remember, And I said to
That
him,
was when we were roommates.
yes,
And you came home with blood on your shirt, ripped shirt, your work kit was stolen. That was my
my,
first
my
foray
car
into
was missing. And
being a sober companion. I wasn't very compassionate. I was mean to you, actually.
I needed it. I
I
needed it. I should have listened. It would have saved me years and years of work. But, so what I say is if me telling my story can save one life, then that's why I'm here and other people are not, that I'm here to share. I do a lot of service.
Yeah,
uh,
you did.
I do a lot. Last year I chaired 3 separate meetings. I currently have 3 sponsees that I'm helping, get sober and stay sober.
You are the reason that I'm still sober today because during the pandemic in March of 2020, you remember you called me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What everybody else is doing in New York City, nothing." I said, "But actually, I'm going to a bar right now. I'm getting dressed." And you were like, "What? There's no bars." I said, "Yeah, this bar down the corner opens the windows and they have plastic cups and everybody, there's like 30 people. They're all congregating and drinking." He goes, "You're sober. You're not going for a drink." And I was like, "Listen, I'm going to drink until this crazy thing's over." And you went, "You're not drinking. If I have to get in a cab and come up there, I'm going to beat the shit out of you." That was payback for me, right? For what I did to you when we were roommates.
Mhm.
And then you introduced me to Zoom meetings, which I didn't know anything about. Thank God. And I went to that meeting every morning with you. And I needed that. I was ready to rock and roll. I was dressed. I was ready to go out and drink. And I was so grateful that you did that.
That's
So
what we do.
that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Wow, honey buns. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Love you so
I
much.
love, I tell people about you all the time, but I love that I can actually introduce you to my wider audience. Thank you, honey buns, for being here. I love you. I love you forever. You are like one of my dearest humans on this planet.
Love and adore you. And I think you're doing such great work,
Thank you.
spreading the word.
Oh, is that our little
Yeah,
buddy?
come here, honey. Get over here. Oh, he's playing hard to get,
Oh, he is? Okay.
unlike his daddy. Oh, that ship has sailed. Sorry. I
All right, my love. Thank you. I love you so much.
love you too, my love.
Thank you.
Mwah.
That was so special to have my best buddy on the program. Oh my God. If any of you would like to ask him a question directly, you can send it to me and I will forward it to him. You can send it to sobersofa@gmail.com. You can also leave your comments or questions in the comment section. And Jeff does a lot of service, so I know him well enough. He would be very, very happy to help you because he struggled for decades with relapse issues. So thank you all for being here, for enjoying this interview with my dearest friend Jeff, and thank you also for subscribing to my channel and for hitting the bell notifications and the thumbs up to my videos. And please forward my videos to anyone you think could benefit from these videos. You really could save a life by forwarding one of these videos to them. Thank you so much again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you all back at the Sober Sofa.